What's up? How's it? Aloha, welcome to Culturize. It is me, Makani. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a space that we've created to share and learn and talk culture. One of the beauties about Hawaii is that there's so much culture here. We grow up with it, whether you grew up here, whether you moved here, whether you need to reconnect to your culture, whether you need to learn more about your culture. I truly believe that we're going to be lifetime students, but not just Native Hawaiian culture, all kinds of cultures we can talk about. So I'm actually excited. Been reaching out. I've wanted to talk about this for a while, and so I've reached out. I was emceeing Aloha Festival's parade a few months ago, and then here comes, you always gotta love Hawaii Lona, because here comes this float, and I remember seeing it, Loko Ea, right, out, and I was like, hello. I've been wanting to talk about the concept of fish ponds and all that. With me today, introduce yourself and tell everybody where you're from.
Aloha. My name is DeCoito, and I live in Maunalua on another fish pond.
Really? Explain. Okay, so those that are watching, explain to everybody where Maunalua is.
It's known as Hawaii Kai in East Oahu.
Right. Can you share, you know as well, I was just sharing with somebody the name Hawaii Kai, because a lot of people think, and what was the original name? You just said it. Why is it Hawaii Kai? A lot of people don't know.
We get to thank Henry Kaiser for changing Maunalua and the face of it. But no, I don't say Hawaii Kai ever.
I thank you for that. So we have to go back to these original names. But before we get to the fish pond that you're at now, that's what high school you went?
I went to all-girls high school in the San Jose Bay Area.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say La Pietra, but La Pietra's here, right? So you're in Maunalua now. Before we get to, we're talking fish ponds, which is, I like how things happen organically. Can you share with everybody what Maunalua? So those of you that are watching Hawaii Kai, that you may know it as Hawaii Kai. One day, the owner who bought all that amazing land and water was Henry J. Kaiser, and he wanted it to name a town after himself. So Hawaii, because it was supposed to be originally Hawaii Kaiser, but then he was like, oh, Hawaii Kai. Anyway, not a lot of people know it was a fish pond.
It was, and I like to say still is.
See, as I said, yeah.
The largest fish pond in all of Polynesia, 523 acres. Yeah.
I thought just Hawaii.
No.
So from the bridge, it goes all the way. It was bigger though, right? It's what we see today. Or no, it was about the same.
Yeah,
because didn't they cover anything?
No, I don't think they filled anything in. They actually dredged.
Oh, they dredged more.
Yeah, is what they did.
Is there, because there's so much activity now, how detrimental was, if even that's a question, how detrimental was that they built around Maunalua to become Hawaii Kai? Is there still fish, like good fish there, in your opinion?
Is it restorable?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There you go.
Wow. I believe it is. But you got to have like an idealistic, crazy wahine, mana wahine that says, yeah, we can do it, right? I'm hoping to like put it out there for the next generation, because of the ownership and because of the demographics of that community, they might not understand the value and fight against it. But
do you think there's parts? You think you could, in a perfect world, would you be able to restore all of it? Or right now, is there parts of Maunalua that you could restore slowly by slowly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the phases, and then you build the momentum, and then you go bigger and harder.
So it would just take. It sounds minuscule, but it would take a little bit of education, right, to let people know. In that, I know, right? We're being kind, because I like to force feed education. So it'll take a little bit of that to just start, I think, reconnecting with Vahipana, whether you're from Hawaii or not. Anyway, if you guys are joining us, this is Culturized. We are sitting down with my good friend Raina. We're going to talk about fish ponds, and it was funny because we're talking about the fish pond that she's at currently, but she lives and resides in the largest fish pond, what I just learned, in the Polynesian Triangle, which is Maunalua, and you probably know as Hawaii Kai. Change that, friends. It's Culturized.
Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser digital full access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHAITHING. For all your money needs, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is here for you. Visit hificu.com.
Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome back to Culturized. I am excited. We get to talk about a native Hawaiian practice of fish ponds, and can we say fish farming? Is that?
Yeah, we say.
It's funny because my grandfather used to say it all the time. He's like, "We got to farm on land. How come nobody farms fish?" I'm like, right. I
mean, we just say traditional aquaculture, but lots and lots of people say farming too. So,
is Hawaii is not, or did Native Hawaiians come up with that concept, or is it a universal native practice?
No, we believe we were the genesis of it.
Wow.
And right in the 1800s, over 400 fish ponds producing over 2 million pounds of fresh fish every year from our own ahupua'a.
From one ahupua'a.
All of our.
All the 2 million.
Pa'aina, yeah.
Oh, man. And I remember going. It was a few years back. I had to go to this NOAA meeting. They were talking about, it was a Hawaiian fisheries thing on Lanai, and I don't know why I was there, but they were talking about if we don't do something, Oahu itself within 10 years will just be depleted of fish. That's great. So we're coming from what you just said, 2 million pounds.
Right.
You could feed all of Hawaii and then some.
And we did. And so that's why some of us are crazy enough to, want to see them restored again. And a lot of people think that they're all filled in. There's plenty. There's probably over 200 that could be restored.
Statewide. How many on Oahu?
Just kind of guessing, maybe 30.
Really?
So in the 80s, DLNR did a survey of all of those fish ponds, and they categorized them 1 through 4, 1 and 2 being restorable. And so that's still pretty much intact.
Wow.
I know, it blows people's minds.
So take a visual, you guys. If you've ever drove, I went to public school. If you were in Holo Holo around the island, it's almost as though sometimes you don't even need an eye for it. Just almost common sense to say, fish pond could have been there, or is there, right? So I encourage you guys, when you holo around the island, you take those weekend trips around, look and think about that, because we all eat fish. You ever think about it? And this is a really bad analogy that I use. Can you imagine if all the chicken in the world was gone? Where do Kentucky Fried Chicken done? Chick-fil-A done, right? You got to be smart about it. We love fish. We got to farm fish, and we culture fish. Before we get a little bit more deep into it, I want to go take a step back and the concept of fish ponds, Loko Ea. How, when, why did it start? A lot of us know about them. You hear about them, but what is the whole concept and practice of it? Genesis right here in Hawaii.
Yeah, it was about sustainability. We used to just feed and live within our own ahupua'a, and we would have the protein and the agriculture, and we'd go into the uplands, and we pretty much just lived within our own ahupua'a system, and you did not go fish in your neighbor's ahupua'a. And right. So they created an ahupua'a a fish pond in every ahupua'a. And it's sustainability, right? Who wants to go outside and fish?
Which is true. Explain to our friends that are listening in and watching, what is an ahupua'a?
It's a land segment from the top of the mountain, Mauka, to Makai, which is the ocean. And communities would just live throughout there and work and barter within each other.
And everything you needed.
Everything you needed.
If you're joining us, we're talking fish ponds on this episode. Loko Ea, as they're traditionally called, but the concept and the practice was a community thing that there's this push to bring them back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Loko Ea, specifically, but we want to talk about the concept of fish ponds right here on Culturize. Air and Sea Travel Center, best group tours throughout the world. Let's go travel and see the world to make beautiful memories. Call 808-951-9800 today. Long's Drugs is always here for Hawaii, providing your family with their local favorites and accessible health and wellness services to keep you safe and healthy. Make Long's a part of your day. Windows Hawaii. Trust Windows Hawaii. Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome back to Culturize. This is Makani. I'm excited. I'm always excited to learn things. And this is a space. Sometimes we get to a point where we want to continue to learn things. You want to reconnect. Maybe you always had an interest in Loko Ea or fish ponds or aquaculture, and you just didn't know who to turn to, who to, you didn't have a connection. I'm giving you one right now. You ever want to get in touch with your culture, whether it's hula, whether it's mele, there's so many things within your own culture that you can connect to. And we're talking Native Hawaiian culture, fish ponds, Loko Ea. We talked about sustainability. Is it fair to say that was the number one? That was the reason, sustainability. We have to make sure everything
Absolutely.
we needed is in that ahupua'a system. And if you're joining us, ahupua'a system, it was a land division from Mauka all the way to Makai. But at the end, right where the beaches are and the kai starts, that's where a fish pond is. Was there certain places, did it have to have a certain geographical position
Yes.
to have a fish pond?
Yes, so that's part of the ingenuity. So our fish pond is a pu'u'one, and it's the brackish water.
Ooh. So before that, the fish pond you're at, let's take Holo Holo and travel all the way to Haleiwa.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay,
It's a pu'u'one, which is inland, right? And so we do have a makaha with the connection into Haleiwa Beach. So it's right. So we get fresh water from Loko Ea stream. And then we have a makaha that's literally connected to Haleiwa Beach. Okay. And so then that's our kai. And then that's literally where we have the spawning. So the nearshore fish, they still naturally recruit and come in on their own because you get the type of food they like with the brackish water.
Okay, so now if you're watching and you're listening, just visually in your mind, when you take that holo holo and you're going around North Shore, you're driving through Haleiwa, you just passing the bridge. Yes. Okay, when you look to your right, now there's there's a restaurant.
It's the old Jamison, Haleiwa.
So if you notice right behind there's this pond. And then there's the little hale that's kind of there. So what we see passing is not even a fraction of what that whole thing is.
Correct.
Now, we traditionally see, well, not traditionally, but we usually see, the general population sees a fish pond and they see these stone walls that come around. Was there at Haleiwa, that's your fish pond, was there? Because is there?
Oh, yeah.
Where is that at?
The kuapa, the stone walls. So it's the awai. So it goes from where that house is all the way past the restaurant to, there's another bridge before the Maunalua bridge.
Yeah.
And so that's actually our awai kai.
Wow.
And so we keep that open too.
So now you guys are getting this visual of where we are. So we're there. When did they discover that? Because I remember growing up, I would, well, I shouldn't say when did they discover, when did we in contemporary time? Because I remember growing up, I'd spend my summers in Haleiwa and Wailua and on the North Shore, and you'd see it there. But I literally thought it was just somebody's natural pond that they had their own fish, but I never once thought for a reason. When did they discover that it was an actual Loko Ea?
Well, I think it's Kamehameha owned. They've always known. The last time they just
sorry.
The last time that anybody was on property was in the 80s, and it was Carol and Jim Wyman.
That's right.
And they were actually doing full-on Loko Ea operations. And I believe that they knew that they needed to invest in the infrastructure. And KS said, you know, we're not going to give you a long-term lease. And so that was the end of the relationship. And so from the 80s until 2008, this is a really good part of the story too, KS was doing the Haleiwa development. And in the community meetings, they were asking, okay, you know, we're going to humbug you guys hard. What would you like? And everybody wanted back into Loko Ea.
Wow. What, obviously we know that the name of the Loko Ea is what again?
Loko Ea.
Loko Ea.
Very confusing.
So explain that to us, Loko Ea. Everybody knows Loko Ea. Right.
So Ea, which we actually love, right? Ea means so many things, right? It means, it actually literally means rising waters. But we love to, our model is restoring Ea.
I love that.
On all levels, right?
I love that.
There's so much kaula.
Restore, and that's how we think. We're deep. Restoring Ea. If you're joining us, we are talking Loko Ea at Loko Ea, and we are doing all these things. We're learning about some things that you may think you know, and maybe adding to that right here in Culturized. At Aloha Kia, you know a guy. Visit them at any of their 7 dealerships statewide. Purchase a brand new Kia using Aloha Kia Express. Learn more at alohakia.com. Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha, it is B. McCuddy. Welcome back to Culturized. I'm so excited. I'm getting schooled right now. You know, I'll be the first one to say it's like funny growing up on Lanai. We had Loko Ea, but we didn't really understand fully. And I love the fact that today, every little aspect of aquaculture is coming back. Let's go back to, so Loko Ea is where you folks are. What is that ahupua'a that it sits on?
Kawailoa.
Kawailoa. Where does that start? Because I always get confused. As soon as I come over the top, wahiwa coming down, I just lose all, like...
Gosh, you know, I want to say it starts at the bridge. Honolulu River is, you know, the land that way, and it goes all the way up. It actually means the long waters.
No way.
And it is because there's a second fish pond called Uko'a.
Really?
Yes, which is 10 times, well, actually over, like 15 times the size of Loko Ea. So it's 130 acres, and they're connected. It's a complex. Both of those fish ponds share the same kia'i.
How brilliant.
Lani Wahine, and we will not be pau with our mission until we restore both of them together again.
So when you're driving by, if you're watching, listening, you see that little part behind the old Jamesons. So if you're looking at there, if you stop there and you look past that, how far back does it go? Because I remember growing up, there used to be, it was covered.
Well, yeah, it was covered with invasive grasses.
Right. And nobody knew until how long ago?
2008, when they opened it up again.
How did they know?
How did they know
it was?
Well, that's what I'm telling you. KS knew, and then community said, "Please let us back."
So community's like, "It's there."
Yes, we want our ohana. We want the next generations. We want this to be restored. And it was on those, you know, monthly Saturdays that 2 men that had heavy equipment background, they just said, "Wow, this is something we can do." And they knew that we could do a lot manually, but they knew that it was going to take some.
Bring your pickaxe and your backhoe. Bring your backhoe.
And so I would say maybe after a year, KS kind of tapped these two guys and said, hey, why don't you guys start up a nonprofit? Now, we're talking about two men, two kane, that never knew nothing
All
about
they know is
nonprofit. They just wanted to do the work.
Yeah.
But I love that story because, as you said, anybody can go and do a restoration as long as they dream.
Wow. Say that again.
Anybody can do a restoration as long as they dream. And so I think it's really beautiful that these two men are now going to see the full restoration of a Loko Ea.
I always love the brilliant forward thinking of any native culture. So these men saw this. They started the nonprofit. How long has it been now? 2008, 13 years. How did you get involved?
Super funny. I used to be the executive director of Hawaii Maoli, which was the nonprofit that services the civic clubs, Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs. And these two men, before they started their nonprofit, came to the civic club and said, oh, we need some help. And so we wrote a small planning grant for them. And so that was the genesis of our relationship. And then, maybe 6 or 7 years later, they knew that they needed real leadership.
They're like, you need to come over here.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
If you're joining us, we're slowly wrapping up our conversation. We're not going to wrap up our conversation about aquaculture and fish ponds, native Hawaiian concept of Loko Ea. Can you hang out with me for an extended version? Because I want to get into even how and what to do. Thank you so much. We got to thank Island Craft Fairs and all their vendors. This is all for you. We got some gifts for you. You want to learn more? Head over to YouTube, extended version of Culturized. Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome back. It is Culturized. If you're on YouTube, this is the extended version. If you caught us, the prequel to this on KTV, thank you so much for validating our existence. Continue to do that. Hit the notification bell. Hit the like button. Let us know what you think, comments, anything you want to learn about the Loko Ea at Loko Ea. You want to learn just how to reconnect. If you wanted to reconnect with some kind of Namea Hawaii, some kind of practice, that's a good way to do it, right? And all you got to do is just show up. Well, I shouldn't say just show up. You're going to have a bunch of people just standing over there.
That's true. Our gates are open.
Where's Rico at? But that's what we're talking about. Aquaculture, the concept that Native Hawaiians that created, that we realized that at one point we were producing 2 million pounds of fish for the community in the Pai'aina, specifically in Haleiwa, and the name of the ahupua'a again was? Kawailoa. So now you get a visual of where we are. Concept of a fish pond and aquaculture. So you have these walls, and there's fresh water, and that's what makes you guys different. What makes it is the brackish water? Is that what
Correct.
It is?
The combination, yes,
of
the
fresh
water
and ocean
coming down the stream and the ocean connection.
I always, it's funny because my grandpa always used to say, he goes, when fresh water and ocean water meet, it creates brackish, and that's where life happens. I would never understand it because I would think, no. The water dirty. It's dirty. He goes, that's life happens there. So he goes, if you get bit by one shark, you swim over there. Or if you want to eat fish, then you go over there. From that concept, how does that work? I shared a story with you earlier because when you guys were coming through the parade, on your float you had the makaha, which is a gate, and somebody was like, no, that's that town on the west side. I said, yes, you're right, but explain that concept. If you ever go to a fish pond and you see these wooden gates and these slats, explain that to us.
So, as I said, we still have natural recruitment, which means when the tides are rising.
That is brilliant.
We're lucky. All fish ponds still have that, and they will have to do restocking. But when the tide rises, the fish come in. And again, they're attracted to the phytoplankton created by the brackish. And then conversely, when the tide goes out, the fish go out. And so we utilize the makahas when we wanted to actually fish because we knew they were going to be passing this gate. And we just close it on both sides, and we were able to harvest whatever we needed and let the rest go. So how sustainable, how brilliant.
Which is, I always say, it's like with the introduction of technology today, which I'm not knocking, right? There's some things we need, but sometimes we just got to look back, right? It's like you can go somewhere and they're all these fish farming out in the open ocean, right? It's like all this technology, like we had like some pieces of wood and some twine, right? And luckily some brackish water, but if not, I always like to say, I wonder who the first two Hawaiians was that was sitting on the edge of and go, hey, how do we trap the big fish? Oh, let's do this. And they just created that thing, right? It seems so difficult, but it's so easy. So of course, your fish pond, they still naturally come back. So there's other fish ponds that actually have to restock.
Yeah.
What is
their nearshore fisheries are depleted, not healthy, and so they're not getting that natural recruitment. And so there is a lot of discussion with the legislation to build a hatchery, to do something to be able to have that in place.
With you guys now there, 13 years, what is, and it may sound like a dumb question, but what is the end result?
When both fish ponds are restored and connected, and we will be harvesting over 50,000 pounds of fresh ama per year for the North Shore community.
See, and you know what? It's funny. I think about when you say that. I love the fact that for the North Shore community, because there's other community. Two things I always think happen. They're going to want to come in and say, I want some, or it's going to take somebody to go, I want some, but we'll do it in our community, right? And it's hard to get people to do that, especially to do the work. Maybe another weird, dumb question, but how difficult was it physically for you and those that help you to restore what you have now?
Like
hours wise.
Literally 10 years, probably 45,000 people. We have a small team, and it's only just grown in the last couple of years, but we 100% utilize volunteers and learners.
If somebody wanted to reconnect, if somebody was even whether Native Hawaiian or not, how can they just go? Can they show?
Yeah.
They got to give you a call. They got to.
Well, go on our website, and we actually have, since COVID happened, we limited the group size and we limited the numbers, but we still have Ohana days where you can get out there and just kind of like reserve, just because some days it gets really crazy if we don't try and manage that. People want to be on the Aina.
I love that.
I know, it's awesome, right? It's a good problem.
It's almost, I know, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much people. Yes, but we need this. And to continue on in perpetuity, not only restore it, because a lot of times people want to restore things and then pow.
Oh, no.
Right?
Oh, no.
We have to restore and in perpetuity keep it going, which is important. Do you guys go out, or do you even have time to go out into the community like this and tell people about Mālama Loko Ea?
Oh, okay, so we have about 7,000 families, community learners, volunteers come to Loko Ea for our educational programs every year. So like you said, how are we going to sustain that? It's building the next generation of kia'i. Right? It's not supposed to be Mālama Loko Ea's job to sustain this. It's just like, so we've been working really hard. We just held our first Levi'a camp at Police Beach, or better known as Pu'ena. And we're really working hard to get that next generation. And, it's not, once you get them, Loko Ea does it, man.
Yes.
The mana, the energy, everything, that whole connection that they feel, it does the work. But, it's just finding the families, right?
I always say it's these cultural tractor beams, right? Once you stand there, just like, I got to be here next week. Do you think, and I like you said, because speaking of families, in your manao, do you think, because a part of me, I work in Waianae is at the Traditional Hawaiian Healing Center. Do you think a Loko Ea could be a practice to heal families, to bring them back together, to do that. I mean, we think of a lot of these cultural practices, right? Do you think you could use a Loko Ea and Mālama Loko Ea as a place for families to come to?
We do.
Really?
We literally do. I mean, we try and, so I absolutely believe the Aina is healing. Right. Loko Ea has, I believe, special mana, it's been a place of refuge, right? It's a pu'uhonua. And we really understood that during COVID when everybody needed that place so much. So yeah, I mean.
See, I was during COVID, I was so like, we need to keep these places open. I mean, yes, let's go. We got to do our due diligence and make sure that we not test, but whatever we got to do. But we needed someplace to go. Because I remember being at the health center, I was telling them, I said, we may not have to focus too much on the physical pandemic, but the mental pandemic later. Man, right? We need to. I was just jumping in the water and doing all that. I like that fact. So families can go, individuals can go, reconnect to Aina. When are Ohana days?
The first and third Saturdays. But literally, we're doing probably 6 or 7 school groups.
Because I may have a group of guys and a group of women that I want to bring by.
Oh, you should. We'd love it. We would love it.
They just need to, like, sometimes I just want to throw you guys in the water. It's like, I'm going to force that on you.
You know, it's hard to explain because it's not quantifiable, but you can see the look in their face. You can see them stand up. So we're planting seeds, and then they feel some kind of nourishment. They feel better about themselves. And then they want to come back. So like you said, how long was it? It never felt like work, not to anybody. It was always just the lokahi of all of it was always sweet.
Which is, I truly believe, which is what we need today. So again, mahalo for joining us. I definitely want to bring back some friends of yours. And we want to talk about Mālama Loko Ea. Again, let's remind everybody, when the next time you're driving around the island, driving down that ahupua'a, and you're passing, just take some time, just stop and kind of look over. And when you're the first bridge, and just kind of look out and all that area. Because a lot of people look at it and go, oh, this is just some marshlands and some whatever, right?
Exactly.
But they don't realize that this fed half of the island. So take some time and do that. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Come back as well, and hopefully we can bring a camera crew and we can go hang out. Right?
Be awesome.
We want to do that, because talking about a fish pond is great.
Right. Exactly.
But visually seeing it and feeling and touching the water is even better. So mahalo for making time. This is Culturize. You want to learn a little bit more about culture? You want to share culture with us? Comment down below. It's not what we know, it's who we know right here in Culturize.